Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less.
Smithville Communications, serving Southern Indiana with high-speed fiber gigabit internet. Smithville Fiber Gigabit Technology. Tap the power.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.
Coming up on Indiana Newsdesk, Indiana's academic standards cleared their first hurdle this week.
We believe that they're clear, they're rigorous, and they are college and career ready.
But what do teachers and administrators think who now have a tight timeline to learn and implement the new standards in their classrooms? Universities are banding together to voice their opposition to a patent reform bill that passed the U.S. House and is moving to the Senate.
I think going quickly with patent legislation that doesn't consider the implications across the board can be very detrimental to universities and small companies.
Why academic leaders say the reforms could be crippling. Plus, a runner we introduced you to last week made it across the iconic finish line in Boston. Those stories in this week's headlines right now on Indiana Newsdesk. Hello, welcome to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. A panel of Indiana business and community leaders voted Monday to approve new academic standards to replace the Common Core in Indiana. The new standards go to the state board for final approval next week. Ellie Moxley explains how teachers are preparing for the transition.
It's not just the ABCs and 1, 2, 3s for kindergartners at Eastern Elementary. They learn how to write entire sentences and how to do basic math. Tammy Mauer's been teaching here for 12 years. She says she tries to stay out of the politics and focus on her kids, but the fight for the Common Core was one she was forced into. A group opposed to the nationally crafted standards has been lobbying to repeal them for 2 years.
The next item on the agenda is the resolution regarding national assessment of educational progress.
And as the state has debated what standards to use next, it's created confusion for teachers. Mauer really doesn't have a strong opinion about the standards the Indiana Education Roundtable approved this week. She's just glad the issue is settled, so she can begin making plans for next year. At first glance, she says the new standards are fairly similar to the Common Core, so the transition hopefully won't be too difficult.
Just some language issues as far as grammar expectations for kindergarten, and that's really the only standards I was looking at. So just some different tweaks that we would need to make with our report card.
For example, in the previous standards, kindergartners were required to write complete sentences. The new standards are more specific, complete sentences that include singular or plural nouns and verbs.
One thing I did like that I saw that they're doing with these standards is they're lining them up so that I can see what a kindergarten student's standards are, and I can see how it's sequential with all the other standards for first grade, second grade, and on up the line. So I can see expectations for all grade levels. That's something that I did like on the way out of this one.
These new standards weren't made in a vacuum. Though Indiana officially withdrew from the Common Core last month, elements of the nationally crafted standards are in this new draft. State education officials asked teams of evaluators to look at every standard in the Common Core and every standard Indiana has used in the past. The results, says State Superintendent Glenda Ritz, are Indiana-specific standards.
And keep in mind, we looked at every single standard of those. It wasn't just a cursory review. We actually evaluated every single one and to come up with the standards that we have now. We believe that they're clear, they're rigorous, and they are college and career ready. And that's what we set out to do, to make sure that our kids were going to be prepared.
But opponents say the new standards are too similar to the Common Core. They booed when Superintendent Ritz and Governor Mike Pence called the process to create the new standards transparent at Monday's meeting. They say their viewpoint wasn't represented in the process.
What was supposedly kicked out of Indiana just 4 weeks ago is about to be ushered back in the back door.
But they're different enough that Eastern Howard Superintendent Tracy Cadell says he's concerned the new Indiana standards will make it difficult to compare his students to kids in other states.
I know one of the concerns in speaking with other superintendents is AP and SAT scores and those sorts of things, particularly SAT, they're going to be written, it's my understanding, around the Common Core. And so I have a concern that our kids may not do as well on SATs in the future as they have.
And Cadell is frustrated. Indiana schools were told the state was moving towards Common Core. His district and others spent time and money getting teachers ready for the new standards. Now they'll have to start teaching to the new expectations with very little lead time.
We're fortunate. We have 30 minutes of professional development every day before school starts, so we'll be able to adapt, but there'll be quite a few schools out there who don't have the luxury of daily professional development. So I think it's going to be a struggle to implement them for the next school year. It's a tight timeline.
And teachers aren't the only ones who think the timeline is tight. Members of the state board have said they feel rushed too. But Indiana has to meet a July 1st deadline state lawmakers set last year. If not, it could run afoul of an agreement with the federal government to implement new standards and new tests by next spring. So it's likely the new standards will get final approval at the board meeting Monday. The next step will be picking a new test to replace the I-STEP, which assesses the state's current standards. Students are scheduled to take 2 tests in spring 2015, one to meet state requirements and the other to satisfy federal guidelines. But it's as yet unclear what that new test will look like. It's the next thing state board members will have to consider. And now for headlines, we go over to Alex Dierkman, who has an update on this week's top stories.
Thanks, Joe. The Federal Emergency Management Agency is providing financial aid for 19 counties in Indiana that suffered severe damage from winter storms earlier this year. FEMA originally denied the state assistance earlier this month, but granted its request after Governor Pence appealed the decision. But several counties still aren't receiving aid, including Howard County.
Having dealt with this now for the 3rd time in less than a year for different storm-related issues we had, we've come to just not expect it and hope that we get it, but any assistance, but we'll just have to work around it and persevere, and that's what we'll do.
Goodnight says the city is tightening its budget and buying certain equipment to save money. An ethics committee plans to reconvene next week to determine whether a state representative violated its ethics rules. The ethics committee heard allegations this week that Republican Representative Eric Turner improperly lobbied against a nursing home moratorium. Turner says he disclosed to fellow Republicans in private caucus meetings all his ties to the nursing home industry and followed House rules. After next week's meeting, the ethics committee will make recommendations to the House Speaker on what, if any, consequences Turner will face. A former state trooper, twice convicted of killing his family before being acquitted at a 3rd trial, is speaking out publicly about the case for the first time. As Jimmy Jenkins reports, David Cam spoke to an Indiana State University criminology class Wednesday during a talk on wrongful convictions.
A jury convicted David Cam of fatally shooting his wife and 2 children in 2 separate trials. As a part of a 3rd trial, ISU students analyzed and called into question the initial results of blood splatter evidence found on Cam's clothing, which was a key part of the prosecution's case. Cam says he's grateful to the people who helped him win an uphill battle.
It's just a tough situation. It's a lot to overcome, and it's it's overwhelming, and it's just a hard fight.
Cam spent 13 years in prison from when he was first arrested in 2000 to his acquittal last October. He's now working to help establish a group called Investigating Innocence to help hire investigators and cover legal fees for people who say they've been wrongfully convicted.
Eli Lilly is purchasing the animal health products company Novartis Animal Health for $5.4 billion. The acquisition could strengthen and diversify Lilly's own animal health business, Elanco. Once the sale is complete, Elanco will be the 2nd largest animal health company in the world. Governor Mike Pence is urging President Obama to approve the controversial Keystone XL oil pipeline from Canada. Obama once again delayed a decision on the pipeline late last week, so Pence sent a letter to the president Monday asking him to approve what he calls a significant project that will have an important impact on Indiana. Although Keystone XL wouldn't go through Indiana, Pence says the project will provide an economic boost for the state, whose manufacturing industry builds large truck engines, pipe controls, and other products that will be used both in construction and operation of the pipeline. During a panel discussion in Bloomington as part of his statewide healthcare listening tour, Congressman Larry Bucshon said the transparency of healthcare costs has faded as insurance companies, Medicare and Medicaid, have stepped in as a middleman between physicians and their patients.
So there's no way to really drive down the cost by comparing prices or picking more quality physicians that have good quality and lower cost, because nobody knows what anything costs.
Bucshon's tour wraps up today, but he hopes his conversations with doctors, nurses, and patients provides him with a good perspective on key issues in the state. The Bloomington City Council voted Wednesday to override Mayor Mark Kruzan's veto of an ordinance that would allow for sharpshooters to cull deer in Griffey Lake Nature Preserve in an effort to address overpopulation. The council voted 7-2 in favor of the measure. They said the sharpshooting is necessary because deer are threatening the plant and wildlife diversity in the nature preserve. The ordinance now goes to the parks commissioners, who will decide when and how to enact the strategy, though it likely won't occur for several months. Attorneys have reached a preliminary agreement to bring a lawsuit between a prison and a Native American inmate to an end. The American Civil Liberties Union of Indiana is representing around 40 Native Americans in a lawsuit that argues the Miami Correctional Facility infringed on their freedom of religion when it banned their religious ceremonies in June. A court clerk says the Department of Corrections has now agreed to allow a chaplain to come into the correctional facility to oversee the Native American religious ceremonies. Indiana University researchers can now detect minute changes in diabetic patients' retinas. As Gretchen Frazee reports, the method they've developed could help patients catch vision problems early so they can prevent eyesight loss.
When seen through an extremely strong magnifying glass, a normal retina looks like this. But after testing diabetes patients, IU researchers found some of their eyes look like this. See that bulge? That's a swollen blood vessel. In people with diabetes, those blood vessels can become distorted shapes and start leaking fluids. That then makes the retina swell and can blur vision.
Hopefully we're seeing these changes before we ever get to that state. That's sort of the goal of the research, is to understand, can we see and identify problems before they become visually very significant.
To see the eye at this microscopic level, Burns used a special machine he built. If created for commercial use, it could help people know whether they need to take additional medications or change their eating habits.
We have people that have come in who are relatively young, who have had relatively short histories of diabetes, who clinically, with standard clinical tools, look absolutely fine. And we can show them that they're far from absolutely fine, that there are already microvascular changes, and at least we think sometimes they seem to be impressed and hopefully will change their behavior patterns.
And knowing how diabetes affects someone's eyesight could also tell a doctor which and how many medications the patient should be taking.
And Indianapolis Pacers Bike Share in the city's downtown started this week. It includes 25 stations and 250 bicycles. The program costs $8 per day or $80 for an annual membership. The first 30 minutes each time you check out a bike is included in that cost, and it's a few extra dollars for every 30 minutes after that. Joe, I may have to try that next time I'm in Indy.
Well, when we were there, only one was taken, so hopefully that program will catch on, especially now that the weather is beautiful out there.
Yeah, hopefully it will.
Thanks, Alex. Coming up next on Indiana Newsdesk. University research is key to developing drugs and other new products, but they say a bill Congress is considering could hurt the patenting process. An auto shop owner is building a type of car you probably haven't seen before. We'll show you how he builds the limos from wrecked Priuses. And 50 years ago, elephants and camels came to Indianapolis. We'll tell you why right here on Indiana Newsdesk.
Turn to PBS for stories that define the American experience.
All of this stuff was just erupting.
Revealing our strengths.
You create a new future.
Our struggles.
It's very American to say, this is not right.
These are our stories.
We were so innocent, and oddly enough, we were so American.
Our American experience.
Tuesday evening at 9.
We are a nation of explorers. We seek new ways of living, of thinking, and of expressing ourselves. We take risks. We learn from experience. and we keep moving forward. That's why we encourage and celebrate the explorer in all of us.
Welcome back to Indiana Newsdesk. I'm Joe Wren. More than half of basic science research in the United States is done at universities. But academic leaders say a patent reform bill going before the Senate would cripple their ability to invest in new ideas. Josh and Lynn explains what's in the bill and why some say tougher restrictions are necessary to prevent frivolous lawsuits.
Indiana University professor Richard DeMarchi has a long list of patents to his name. He develops drugs based on genes in his labs at IU, drugs that can be patented.
Universities play a seminal role in the inventive process of finding these new inventions because they're the sorts of things that simply can't be planned or mapped. As a consequence, one needs the environment that a university provides for doing this pure discovery that is undirected, unrestricted, and allows one to see things that just simply were unknown previously.
Here's an example of how the patent process can work. After DeMarchi discovers a new compound, the university files a patent application. Biotech companies can then license that application and continue to develop the drug. Sometimes more than one company gets involved. A smaller biotech firm does experiments to determine if the drug can be commercialized. Then a larger company like Eli Lilly, for example, steps in to do much larger, much more expensive mass trials and complete the commercialization process. The final patent then reflects the final compound. At every step of the way, patents, and the security that comes with them, are what encourage investors and firms to put in their money.
It is a very precarious relationship between the financial community and those that do the work that bring forward these inventions. And in the absence of a robust system that encourages people to take risk with their money, and allow us to do the work that we do in finding these new inventions, we may be doing ourselves great harm in the ability to find these new drugs that we all desire.
On December 13th, the U.S. House of Representatives passed the Innovation Act. It's a bill intended to target so-called patent trolls, people or companies who buy patents solely to sue other people for infringing on those patents. Tech companies, including Microsoft and Google, have come out in support of the Innovation Act and the companion bill currently making its way through the Senate. Microsoft attorney Horacio Gutierrez said in a statement, "Abusive patent lawsuits create a heavy burden on the U.S. economy, slowing innovation, undermining competitiveness, and stunting economic growth." Here's the rub. Universities and some companies, including Eli Lilly, say the reforms are too broad. By making it more difficult for anyone to bring a suit, they say the bill paints all patent holders as patent trolls.
If you were to think about the patent rights that a university gets as really being the ground that somebody would buy or to rent before they build their building, and because there's so much work required after the transition from the university to a commercial product, if you don't have a stable foundation to build your building, it's not likely that you're going to invest in terms of making it as big a product as it potentially could be.
Pro-legislation voices such as the Internet Association have expressed approval for two provisions in particular. Fee shifting would move all the costs of legal proceedings to whoever loses the case. And heightened pleading provisions would require plaintiffs to find and state every product that infringes their patent, as well as prove their claim for every part of their patent before even bringing a suit. Both provisions are meant to discourage patent trolls from bringing numerous nuisance suits. However, St. Amour says both provisions would make small companies and universities hesitant to enforce their rights, even if they have a good case. Patent suits average $1 to $2 million, and St. Amour says those provisions could increase costs to $4 or $5 million. While the Innovation Act passed the House within 3 weeks, the companion Senate bill has encountered some debate.
Now, I don't think Congress or even the President are looking to do ill against universities, but I think going quickly with patent legislation that doesn't consider the implications across the board can be very detrimental to universities and small companies, because most small companies couldn't afford to enforce their portfolios either.
The fee-shifting provision of the bill appears to be the main area of contention. However, bill sponsor Patrick Leahy says lawmakers have made, quote, enormous progress. The Senate bill is still waiting in the Senate Judiciary Committee for lawmakers to return from recess in about a week. And Josh and Lynn joins us now for more. Josh, and that was the first time I've heard a patent troll terminology before, but shouldn't it be easy to distinguish between a university and a patent troll?
Well, yes and no. Universities, patent trolls, and some firms are what's known as NPEs, non-practicing entities. That means they own or file for patents, but they don't produce a product to go with that patent. But the difference is that universities get the patents legitimately because they actually do the research, they come up with something, and then they file for the patent. Patent trolls just buy the patents from others and then sue because they have those patents. That's why they're known as patent assertion entities, or PAEs, which some people say is the more precise term than just patent troll.
We just had a patent reform bill go through in 2011. Why do we need another bill to pass?
Well, the 2011 bill only addressed certain parts of the patent system. The main change was that it changed from a first to invent to first to file system, which means that the person who gets the patent will be the first person who filed, even if somebody had invented it before. And that brought the system more in line with international patent systems, but it didn't really do anything to address nuisance suits.
So does the 2014 bill address everything then that's left?
Not even close. There's a massive backlog at the U.S. Patent Office. It takes 2 to 5 years now to get a patent, and tens of thousands of dollars in legal fees. So the U.S. system has been consistently ranked as the best in the world, but that massive backlog could soon threaten that standing.
You mentioned that it's about, what, $4 to $5 million for a lawsuit. Why so expensive for patent reform?
Because of heightened pleading requirements. This 2014 bill means that Apple, for example, will have to find every single device, every single instance of infringement, and that's a huge amount of research, which means a lot of money going towards lawyers doing that research, and that's why costs will increase.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Joshin.
No problem.
If you're driving through Scottsburg, Indiana, you might see an unusual sight on the side of the highway, a Prius that looks a little longer than normal. Claire McInerney reports on the man who's building the Prius limousines.
Damaged Toyota Priuses bound for the junkyard are literally being turned into something bigger. The Prius limo, or Primo, is something of a side project for Steve Woodruff. He owns a salvage and rebuilding garage for hybrid cars in Scottsburg.
When we're finished, it has seating for 7 and gets as much as 44 miles per gallon.
Woodruff says the idea was born out of necessity.
My wife asked me to build one for her. We have 3 teenage daughters, and there's always a crowd going band practice, basketball, you name it.
It takes about 90 days to build one from start to finish. Most of that is time spent fabricating the middle doors. They're made with 2 wrecked Priuses, one with frontal damage and the other with rear damage. He welds the halves of 2 doors together to make the doors in the middle row. There's no machinery to help with this process, so it's all done by hand.
I absolutely love it.
Joshua Anderson lives in Madison, Indiana, and bought the second Primo Woodruff made.
To move forward and backward. I bought it for the fuel consumption savings. We have 4 kids, and we do a lot of traveling with sporting events.
Despite owning a regular-sized Prius, Anderson had some concerns about buying the Primo. Number 1, whether he could fit it into a parking space. He can. The Primo is about the size of a medium SUV. And number 2, would the car have enough power?
What I found is that I own a small Prius and this Prius, and there's no difference in the way it performs.
Woodruff's main income comes from selling repaired Priuses. Manufacturing these Primos are more of a hobby for him right now. However, a limo company out of Las Vegas recently called and ordered 2 from him, leaving Woodruff with high hopes that the idea will soon catch on.
Now we take a look back at what was making the news 50 years ago. It's our History Through Headlines segment. The date was April 1964. The musical West Side Story won Best Picture. Lyndon B. Johnson was president. And animals were the main attraction in Indianapolis. The headline reads, Zoo's opening tomorrow tops 20-year effort. The original location of the Indianapolis Zoo opened 50 years ago at the Washington Park Children's Zoo.
The location there was a little smaller, the collection was a little bit smaller, and beginning in the early 80s, we started to look at expanding.
In its first year, 270,000 visitors toured the exhibits of Asian elephants, camels, and tortoises. The current location at White River State Park opened in June 1988. The zoo is still expanding today, keeping with its mission of animal conservation. One of those expansions includes a new orangutan center that is set to open in May. And we have good news to report on Deanne Weaver, the Columbus area runner we profiled last week about her experience running Boston last year. She completed this week's Boston Marathon and calls it the most wonderful experience. Weaver was unable to complete last year's race because of the bombings, but didn't let that stop her from going back this year. She says the race brought a sense of redemption to the city of Boston as the runners took back the finish line.
It's great to hear that she made it through the end.
Lots of inspiring photos and video, too, from Monday's race.
And there was so much flowing through social media that day. It was really inspiring, and it really did last all the way through the week. So.
That's the end of this program, but our work continues online as we cover the news in southern Indiana throughout the week online. It's all at WTIUnews.org. Have a great weekend.
Indiana Newsdesk is made possible in part by the following: Indiana University's Center for Applied Cybersecurity Research, presenting Security Matters, with tips for improving online security in 3 minutes or less.
Smithville Communications, serving southern Indiana with high-speed fiber gigabit internet. Smithville Fiber Gigabit Technology. Tap the power.
And by WTIU members. Thank you.